Number 6. This is actually, we use this slide nationally, but this is actually a consumer in the Best Buy on Elston. I think you've seen this as well. Have any of you actually done this in store where you take out your phone and start to do a price comparison, or you scan a QR code? It's happening more and more, and actually 70% of users have used their smartphone while in store. So the thought is to make sure that you're thinking immediacy. Is that even a word? Or think about being immediate when you're designing your campaigns, because we see that not only are people, like Jeannie said, searching in local, but they're searching, and when they search, they do things very, very quickly. For example, in travel, for one of the major travel customers, we saw that when people searched on their cell phone, 82% booked within a day of arrival, very immediate, versus when they searched on their desktop, only 45% did this. We saw something very similar this year for the Super Bowl. When we looked at searches for the major commercial advertisers on the Super Bowl, they were all very quick, but most of them, the fastest ones, were on mobile phones, because you're sitting on the couch, you're at the game, you're at your friend's place, you're not gonna go to your desktop, you're gonna just pull out your phone and do a search. What was that great Volkswagen commercial with the little Darth Vader kid? So we see this over and over again, and the takeaway here is just remember to think about how you can reach that consumer immediately, because they're gonna be using their phones more and more to get information very quickly.
So heat maps. Heat maps seem to be the theme of the day, but we love heat maps at Google, and you can see on the left-hand side there, so where are people going? They're going all the way to the top, to that first ad. That's the hottest point on the page. And we find that if you are not, in mobile, there's only 2 ads at the top and 3 ads at the bottom. If you are not in those first 2 ads at the top, you might as well not be there at all. Because if you see that, it drops 90% between the the first and 4th position. So huge drop off. Again, that goes back to mobile only, bidding to position, making sure that you're going to be seen.
So we're on number 8. We only have 3 more. Don't fall asleep. And don't fall asleep. I will actually give you a stat that is very, very crazy for number 8. So right now, you all have a supercomputer in your pocket. And actually, your mobile phone right now has more computing power than all of NASA had in '69 when we sent someone to the moon. I think that's crazy. No, well, the response was not what I would hope, but kind of a crazy stat. But before you had a supercomputer in your pocket, you just had a phone. And what do phones do? They make phone calls. Very nice. So the point here is our most popular ad product, or one of our most successful ad products for mobile search, just beyond the basic mobile search, is what we call click-to-call ads. And these enable you, when the advertiser comes up, you get a phone number, and the user in one click can call either the call center or the business. Now, this product is successful for a reason, because that's what phones were intended to do before you use them to look up, the game score. But on average, we see a 6 to 8 average increase in click-through rate when consumers use click-to-call. But that's across, all consumers doing this. For advertisers like an Esurance, whose acquisition model is very phone-based, this ad unit is very, very powerful. We saw 20 to 30% less cost in other marketing channels. And for, again, advertisers where the model is based on trying to drive to a phone call, a click-to-call unit, again, is low-hanging fruit, very easy to implement, and is very, very, very powerful. And Jeannie works in finance. I work in CPG. No one really has, phone numbers for CPG, but for finance, it's huge.
Yeah, it's huge. Actually, some of our advertisers, they receive more phone calls from the click-to-call advertising they're doing with us than their national 800 numbers that they have on all of their outdoor and traditional media. So huge driver of acquisitions for them. Also, not only with click-to-call are you driving acquisition, but you're driving that quality and that loyalty that you're seeking, right? So getting somebody on the phone to talk about life insurance, you don't want them to fill out a form on your mobile phone, right? you have to ask a lot of personal questions. You want to kind of give that human touch, right? So not only is it driving those acquisitions, but you want to get those customers not only that for that day, but for life, right? You want them to keep coming back. So so that's what we're finding in the financial space. So number 9, qualifying your customer. So this is another very, very easy way to get more click-throughs is adding site links. Site links, just by adding the site links alone, we're seeing an increase in the click-through rate. This 30%, that depends on how you're driving your customers, but just by having that real estate, right? Because if you add the 2 site links, you're almost doubling your real estate. You see there, if you can point that out.
This is a site link.
Those are the site links.
This is what you always get, the quick link. But you can add these additional site links for more real estate.
Yeah, so obviously they'll get double the size. Also, you're going to be able to qualify your customers. So if you want them to either fill out a form or get a quote or wherever you want to drive them, instead of that customer having to click on the headline, going through your mobile website, or preferably not having to go to your desktop and pinching and squeezing and pulling and scrolling, all those wonderful things, you can drive them directly there. So the acquisition actually will happen much quicker.
So we're on the final one, number 10. Thank you for not applauding. I am going to try and end this with a bang. I'm going to try and teach you a new buzzword. We like buzzwords, right? We're talking about tablets. I think we've already talked about, how quickly tablets are erupting. Mobile adoption was the fastest ramping technology in history until about 6 months ago, and now it's tablets. Fastest ramping technology in history. 41% of those who bought an iPad actually are saying they're buying it because they want to use it for shopping. So I think in the last 10 years, digital commerce, e-commerce really started to kick off. I think in the last 2 years, mobile commerce or m-commerce has kind of really started to be adopted. I think starting this holiday season, what we're anticipating at Google is that tablet commerce or T-commerce is going to take over. And I think we've seen this with some large retailers already. The example here is one of the top 5 retailers, and these numbers they saw, which are massive, all came from tablets. So I think the bottom line is, and our recommendation is, you don't need to, if you're putting together a search campaign, to optimize specifically for tablets right away, unless you have a tablet-specific landing page or a tablet-specific app, which most people at this point do not. But what you do need to do is try and, if you can, segment them out and see how tablets are performing versus your other marketing channels, because they're adopting so quickly that you don't want to get left behind in terms of learning what your consumers are doing on tablets versus mobile versus desktop.
Unless you have a flash.
Yeah.
Then you want to make sure that you're creating maybe a separate landing page for tablet, because we're definitely seeing majority of the traffic coming from the iPad. I'm sure not any surprise.
I think that's it. Oh, we've got one more, a summary slide from Savita.
I'm just going to summarize what these guys said and then open it up for questions if you guys have any. So just to summarize what Matt and Jeannie went over, it's important to be ready. So create a mobile optimized site for a really good experience for the user. Be found, make sure that you are doing those mobile specific campaigns within mobile search. And then also be smarter. So like Jeannie had spoke to, it's very important to track and report what's going on because things may be very different on your mobile site versus your desktop site. And so now we're going to open it up to any questions. You may get some candy.
How are we doing on time? Good? Okay.
Couple minutes. Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah, very, very interesting metrics. And I guess a lot of the examples you guys used were in the B2C world.
mm-hmm.
Do you guys have metrics on the B2C world or the B2B world? Because if I'm looking for a coffee shop, great, I'm going to use that. If I'm looking for an accounting firm, I'll probably use my desktop. So I'm curious on the metrics on the B2B versus B2C.
Yeah, good question. So I actually work on the B2B vertical. They're a little bit slower to adopt with landing pages and actually having search campaigns. But we've done a few studies. I think they're lacking compared to other verticals. But we do see that there are advertisers that are starting to launch campaigns. I've done a couple searches where I've seen Accenture doing search ads, advertising to execs. So we do have some studies on that. You can find it on our blog. But it is moving a little bit slower than some of the other verticals.
I can just add one thing there. I think, again, tablets are going to rear their pretty head here. Tablets are skewing more affluent. So those higher consideration, either products or services like a B2B, I think tablets are going to start to see a spike there. So we're going to have to start looking at that and optimizing and focusing on tablets specifically for that use case.